Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. So, felt like today's video was a good opportunity to address the elephant in the room, right? And man, um, if you're like me and you are staring at the carnage in healthcare, you're probably a little shell shocked, and you're like, "What the heck happened?" Like how did this all turn so south so fast, right? And just some epic moves lower. And really, like there's no like material development, right? So I'll talk about it in a second. But up here I have the XLV, and what you can see is, so the XLV is the healthcare ETF. And what you can see is it basically had like this little like trend that once it finally broke, right? So it's a little bit of like a technical and fundamental, right? So you had just kind of bumping up into resistance, couldn't get through, lagging, lagging, lagging. I was talking about it as a potential catch-up play, right? So sector rotation, right? I was talking about energy, financials, uh, industrials, and healthcare, right? As potential rotation plays. Well, this rotated the wrong way, rotated through the floor. So you had weakness last week, right? It started. So what this is all kind of stemming from is the Medicare for all, right? So um, the politicians are as they start to get things going for the elections next year. I mean the Medicare for all has really gained some headline steam, right? You know, this isn't actually the first time like the healthcare has been rocked around elections. Like back in 2016, when Hillary was running, the bios actually got run over pretty hard. So if I go back, so that was back when they were the drug pricing debate was really really heated. So you saw just the bios got just demolished, and sorry, it was 2015. So it was 2015. So it was ahead of the election season. So kind of like the same time frame, a year and a half out, and it just made for some really really skittish people that didn't really know what to expect, didn't know what the landscape would be. So you're starting to see that now as people talk about like Medicare for all, right? So that was a headline that started it, and then you had the technical. So the headline started it, then had the technical break, and then UNH was the big managed care. So it's the big managed care name. It reported yesterday, right? And it was one of the casualties from last week, and then it actually had a pretty good number yesterday morning. And then just a monster reversal, and then a lot of the other managed care names followed it lower. It's down again this morning, but it does look like it's starting to potentially look for a rebound, right? Couple big tails at the bottom here. Um, so so what's interesting about all this action, right, is that it basically has come right at the absolute start of earnings season. I mean, we've had a couple of big healthcare names. So UNH and J&J were both yesterday. Uh, but now we're going to really start to pick up, right? So we haven't really had any bios. We're going to get more of the managed care names, and then we're going to get med tech, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about. So you've had some really serious selling, right? So we saw this in like a 1 day stretch a couple weeks ago with the software names. You remember? So like just like some really crazy. So it was here. Just some really crazy distribution down days with the software, and at the time I said like this seems to be more of like like a one-off day. Stocks oversold, pulled back into like the bottoms of these uptrends, still holding support. So it was probably more buy the dip than really start thinking about shorting. Healthcare, it's a little bit tougher to say, right? I mean, this is not just a 1 day move now. This is multiple days on serious volume, and there's some really serious technical damage done. Um, what's going to be super, super, super important is to see how the leaders perform. Okay, and what I mean by that is I'm going to kind of just like talk through like the next few days here. So after the close tomorrow is Intuitive Surgical. So this is one of the big med tech names, and it's been one of the top performers. Obviously, the last few days have been really, really ugly on it, but this was at a 52-week high as recently as Monday. No, last week. Excuse me. So Friday. Um, so this is going to be, when in periods like this, you look to the leaders for some sort of sign of what sentiment's going to be like, right? So ISRG, this will be our first real cue, okay? And depending on what the number looks like and what the reaction is, then that might set the tone into next week. And then next week you have another couple leaders that are set to report. So next week you have EW, which again, I mean, another name that was pretty close to its 52-week high until it got clobbered today, right? Also, next week, Illumina. So this one had just woken up and then just got clobbered today. But overall, I mean, like this is what you would consider a leader. Striker also next week, right? This was leading higher and it just got absolutely run over the last two sessions. So a combination of those four names, like that's what I'm really going to be focused on. Okay. Um, like how those numbers look and how the stocks react to those numbers. I feel like that's going to give you a really good clue as to whether this was just a really unbelievably nasty shakeout and things are still solid and these things can still work higher, or whether you really want to start maybe like lightening up and start focusing on shorts. Instead of looking to buy the dip, maybe you look to like short the rallies, right? And I think a lot of this is going to be determined probably by like the next week and how the action overall plays out. So just to get back to ISRG for a second, so I'll wrap it up with this. So tomorrow after the close, which is a little unusual because Friday the markets are closed, right? They report after the bell, but you can't actually trade it till Monday. Um, but just to give you an idea, right? So the straddle that expires next week, right? Because obviously, like tomorrow's straddle is not you're not gonna be able to trade out of it. So the straddle that expires next Friday, so the 26th on ISRG is looking for about 32 to $34 move. Okay, so pretty big move, but actually not even as much as it's down today. Amazingly, right? It's down about $40, or it was down about $40 at one point. So um, this is what I mean. Volatility is really the ranges are really expanding, and the volatility could be ultra high just in the near term with the ranges so wide at the moment, right? When you have a stock moving 20, 30, $40 a day, and then they report on top of that, you could start to see some wild moves. So definitely keep an eye on these things. All right, ISRGs first, and then we'll get EW and Illumina and Stryker next week, and then there'll be others as well. Biogen's also next week, and that looks particularly bad. I mean, bio, so that'll be one of the first bios to go. So keep an eye on that one. All right. So yeah, moves like this, sometimes they come out of the blue and it's hard to catch the first moves, right? But um, what you find oftentimes is that when you get like these crazy sector moves like we've seen in healthcare, that it kind of sets up a pretty busy stretch following it. Whether things rebound or continue lower. So a really large widening of the ranges could lead to some really good trading action over the next month. So again, if you missed the first move, there still should be plenty of opportunities. So definitely keep these names on your radar. All right. All right, so earnings are really picking up. Hopefully, the action picks up too. Some of the moves today for the earnings-related names were a little bit more muted than I would have liked. So I'm really hoping that the overall moves kind of start to expand a little bit on the names that are reported. So that'll be what I'm watching. Um, but questions or comments, reach out. I'd love to hear from you guys. Hope you have a great night and best of luck if you're playing anything. And I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. All right.